Okay, welcome everybody to the patch Alpha 0.3. Let me turn the music down here just a little bit to make sure it's not too loud. Yeah, hopefully that's a good level there so that you can still hear the music, but you can hear me too. We've got a few minutes still to go until we actually start, but just wanted to say welcome to the patch stream. We're going to cover a few things. We're going to cover what's new in patch Alpha 2, what's new in patch Alpha 3, since I don't think I did an Alpha 2 update. And then we're going to take a look at some of the actual dialogue stuff that's happening and the beginnings of the mission system, which will be like a whole new layer of depth that we're adding on top of just simply, you know, getting jobs and doing jobs and coming back and doing more. There's a lot more stuff to the Smugglers of Cygnus universe. There's the new story, which has just started, which is going to be a whole new book kicking off this month. The backers got their taste of the first chapter of the new Smugglers of Cygnus book, Godot. Hope you guys have enjoyed that so far. And of course, we just wrapped the prior book, Final Lap, which was the first book in the Cygnus Pizza Race game book series thing. The first book about the Cygnus Pizza Race, Final Lap, just wrapped last month. That's being converted into an ebook right now. That ebook will be available free to all of the patrons. So everybody who's on Patreon, no matter when you join Patreon, if you join it today, if you join it next week, you're going to get a copy of Final Lap as an ebook. So that's just something that we're doing for everybody. Now, the higher tier backers are going to be getting the audiobook, as well as at the top tier, they're going to be getting an actual physical copy that's signed of the actual physical book. But, you know, due to the fact that shipping is very expensive, we're actually restricting that just to the top tier there. So the audiobook is also in progress. We'll be putting more chapters of that up here soon. Just trying to get everything sorted with the new location and everything. You know, moves and relocations are always tough, finding places that we can do that. I think we found a good place that we can get everything set up, so we just need to find the stuff, get it unpacked, you know, that kind of thing. And then we should be able to pick up where we left off, which was chapter 10 of the audiobook, and finish rolling out the audiobook for Final Lap. An audiobook will, of course, be coming for Odatria as well. So if you're a big fan of audiobooks as well as of indie games, then, you know, there's a treat there as well. Okay, we're about 5 minutes to, so it's probably not too early to start. Not sure if there's anybody who's impatient to see this, but why don't we go ahead and jump on in. My gamepad is still packed, so I'll be using a mouse and keyboard for this, so I apologize for the slight lack of smoothness. It's a little smoother camera controls with the gamepad because it's a little bit easier to get the real fine-tuned precision, but mine is still packed. Okay, so here we go, patch 3. So, as always, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build our ship. And, oh, actually, I can go ahead and make this full screen now. So let me just do that. Oops. That's not what I meant to do. I meant to make it full screen. Oh. Photo screen. Okay, so we've got our ship. And we are set to go here. So, in patch 2, I'm somehow doubling up on my signal for a full screen switch. Let me do it the old-fashioned way here. Let me try canceling it and then starting it up in full screen directly so that I don't double up on my signal because of ODS. Sorry about that. I probably should have gone full screen in the first place, but I didn't want to interfere with, you know, being able to actually see what was going on in chat. So as always, we're going to go ahead and we're going to build our ship. Got our little pina colada here. I think we'll go with the El Toro with the wings. Actually, why don't we go with the Spectre? I haven't done the Spectre in a while. So we'll do the Spectre. Now the Spectre only has the one con, and it has only the one engine. But why don't we go ahead and make it a cool color for the stream? Why don't we make it the gray? I happen to think the gray looks pretty awesome. Bridges, right now you only get the default bridge that comes with that con. So I haven't added too many extra bridges yet, but eventually you'll be able to choose those. So here we go. We have our ship. We have everything that we had from the previous. You guys were expecting all this. You may notice what's new is there's a lot of new stuff going on with the station. But first, let me show off what was new in patch 2. So what was new in patch 2 was the con. So as you can see, we now have a con. There's a con in every ship. They're all there. Now let me take a quick look at chat just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Gotta keep that handy. Okay, good. I'm not missing anything. Okay, so we've got a con now available in each of the ships, and you will eventually be able to walk around in this con. So you'll be able to get up out of the seat and go through the door behind you, and then go explore other parts of the ship. At the moment, however, it's just a piloting view. Gives you a few different things you can see. You can look out the window as you're going around and looking at things. Gives you a bit more immersion. I'm not entirely sure if it's compatible with a head-mounted display yet. We will have to check. I need to find somebody who has one. And I'm trying not to move this too erratically here. But I've got a very small space to work in right now. So let's go ahead and head up and see what's going on with the changes to the station that came out in patch 2. And then we'll jump to the things that are new in patch 3. So among the new things in patch 2, we got the little station tops here. So you'll notice there's a lot more detail now to the station. You can now see the clearly defined landing zones. And these, of course, are red, which means that this is not an active gate that we can land at. So we're gonna come find a lift that is active. And as you can see, there's that little green landing sphere that we know that we can use as a trigger. And also green lights, which also helps. Now in patch 3, we did move forward to Godot 4.1. But we did run into some bugs with that, so we've gone ahead and reverted back to 4.03 for the moment. We just ran into some memory leak issues that were resolved by going back to 4.03. So we'll give 4.1 a bit of time to cook. Probably 4.11 we'll try it again. So here I've got a landing zone, and you'll notice that the lights here are green. And green, of course, means that I can, in fact, land here. So let's get to the rest of what came out in patch 2, which was a whole landing zone that you can actually land at. So it just switches to docking ship. At the moment, this is the switch between the two. We will eventually have a better switch that gives you a whole cutscene descending into the ship that will be a skippable cutscene as you descend into a station. So for the moment, it's just a quick cutscene. So here we are. You guys are familiar with this whole thing. This has been here since patch 1, I believe. Or possibly patch... Yeah, I think patch 1. So we've got our ability to go ahead and use our job board. We can find jobs, pick jobs that we happen to want, and then we can just grab a job and take off on it. So this one, for example, goes to Alpha 1 Minor, so we could fly out to the moon and, go turn that in. And then, of course, you can always just hit I and get more information on that job. This was actually fixed in a bug in 2. That was a major thing that needed to be fixed, is it didn't tell you where you were supposed to even go. I had made a mistake with that. So now it tells you on your job screen where you're supposed to go. Okay, now to the things that are new in patch 3. So in patch 3, we added NPCs. Though in patch 3, they did not really do much. We just come up to them and they would say, hey, AI is busy. There's a few different lines, you know. But this was basically the extent of what we got. We got the rigging system set up. So these guys are now rigged off of the mocap rig, which was a big change from what we were using previously, which was the Unreal setup. So I had to re-rig them, and then I had to figure out how to get animations and rigs to actually even work in Godot, which was a bit of a challenge, as well as getting the bar finished out and looking proper. And as you know, you've got the Quartermaster's office and the Academy over here. These are going to come into use very soon. Probably in the next 2 or 3 patches, we'll start having stuff that involves those. For now, let's go ahead and jump out to the hangar bay. We're going to launch our ship again. And the ship now clears the station by a bit more than it did because there were some collision problems. We can see where we need to go. Right, our delivery is out there. And the station and the planet are now further apart. The planet is now much larger, and the moon's orbit is quite a bit larger as well. And then I slowed the rate of rotation of the moon down quite a bit. It was orbiting the planet very fast, just because I was impatient in testing. And Sten, our QA guy, was like, hey, we need to have that slow down a little bit, because I can't even catch up to this moon. So I slowed that down quite a bit. You can now definitely catch up to it. It's not a problem at all. And then at any point in space, you can always check your job, see what's going on. You can dump the job, get different jobs. The jobs persist. They are saved. So if you save and exit and come back in again, the job that you're on will still be there. So if you need to, like, you know, put the game down on your Steam Deck or something, go play something else, put the game down, go answer the phone, whatever you need to do, you know, your stuff is saved, it reloads. It's no big deal. And unlike in Unreal, it doesn't have a strange frame rate issue causing it to go to like super warp speed when it's paused. It actually, if you're paused, you're going to continue going the same speed. So you can always just, like, you know, head for a distant object like this and then, you know, go do something else for a couple minutes and come back, and you'll be quite a bit closer to it at the rate you were expecting. We will be adding fast travel, and we'll also be adding like a fast time where you'll be able to fast forward so that the game time will continue, but the real world clock time will go, you know, faster, so that you'll be able to get there quicker even though your ship doesn't go any faster yet. So it'll take, for example, a week of game time, but instead of taking, you know, 15 minutes of real time, it'll take 5 minutes. I don't know, something like that. We'll get the details worked out as we get there, but we will be doing things like that to make it, you know, easier to pick up and put down, and more friendly to casual gaming, because that is important. So as you can see, the tracking object moves towards us, and we have that large red sphere that tells us where we need to land. And that was something that Mitha requested, was he wanted to know, where do I need to actually park for this to be active? Because he felt like he was getting close to the planet, but wasn't sure why it wasn't triggering, and why it was triggering further away than he thought it should be, but closer than maybe it could have been, or, you know, it was hard to tell exactly where the triggers were. So I made sure that the triggers are visible. So I created a really simple effect in Godot, because I'm not, you know, brilliant at doing the shaders in here yet. I'm still learning. And this effect actually does a pretty decent job, I think, of showing what the range is to this target. And obviously some things are smaller, like the landing zone is a much, much smaller range that you have to hit than, say, a delivery to a planet where you don't even have to be all that close. And here, for example, is a delivery to a moon where, again, you don't really have to be all that close. And we'll be at this moon in just a moment here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and resized that quickly so I can check on the YouTube commentary. Okay, welcome, Sten. Let's see. Oh yeah, the view is off center. Oh, let me fix that. I'm sorry about that. Let's see if I can fix that here. that did not... Let's see, what can I do to fix that? Ah, it's this one. There we go. Okay. That's a little better. Okay, it was just a slightly different form factor than the screen. Let me adjust that slightly. There we go. Okay, that fits a little better. I can make it a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Okay, yes. So greetings, Mustafa Amiri. Thank you for dropping by. I appreciate it. And yes, this game is Smugglers of Cygnus. It's currently in alpha. It's on itch. And yes, it is coming out here shortly, in fact. We've got a series of alpha patches that we're working on for it right now. And in each patch, we're trying to bring in new functionality, improve the base game a bit more, get more stuff as we march towards having our first Alpha 1, which is where the base game will exist. And you'll have full gamification of all the features that you need to have. And then when we hit beta, we will be what we consider to be effectively feature complete. And at the point of being feature complete, we'll start moving on to beta, to bug testing, and then just adding content. More music, more characters. Okay, so as we're heading out towards this, let's see. I think I've gotten everybody's questions. Sorry, I still haven't unpacked a second screen yet after relocating, so I'm still on one screen. So I have to switch between YouTube and the game to be able to see. So, I think this is a good overview of what we did in patch 2 and 3, which is basically we got the interior cockpit view set up. We got the exterior views all working in. We got all that stuff set. We got some bug fixes. We got the interior of the station set up. So I think now, let's go ahead and exit from patch 3, and let's start looking at what's coming next, because next up is some really cool stuff. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to switch to that's not what I want. I don't want Bash. I want, there we go. I want Godot. Okay, so let me switch to Godot here. Resize it so it actually fits on the screen, because it's much bigger for whatever reason. Oh, I'm glad you like the cockpit view. That took me a long time to do, as you well know. That was a view that took forever. Let me move this above the overlay here so it's a bit easier to see. Okay, so in Godot 4 here, and let me try to make this a bit more friendly with the streaming resolution. There we go. That's a bit more friendly. Okay, so in Godot 4 here, we've been working on getting the latest stuff into the station. So we've got these characters, and we've now got a whole dialogue system in place. So here's effectively what the dialogue system looks like. You know, you'll have a portrait of the character you're speaking to, a portrait of the character you're speaking to, and then various options. And I'm going to go into actually quite a lot of detail about how we're doing this and what we're doing and why and all that kind of good stuff. But first, let me go ahead and show you what this all looks like. We're going to go ahead and walk through one of these dialogues real quick. And again, I have to go full screen, so I will resize it down and make sure that it fits in OBS properly. Oh, good. It's actually fitting more or less the way I'd like it to. That's nice. I just need to resize this so that it fits properly. This is so much smoother when I have somebody else handling the screen side of the technology for me. But, okay, there we go. So, we're now going to go start one of these missions. And we're going to go in here and we're going to talk to Bad Luck Bart, who's one of our characters. As you can see, the animations are working.
Hey, it's very good to see you.
And as you can hear, there's the beginnings of the audio tracks are actually coming through. In fact, let me turn that up a little bit so you can hear it better.
A big old fight, a real genuine slobber knocker.
And then you've got some details about what happened. And you can always just say, you know, bye anytime and leave. I don't know if I have that working quite yet. No, apparently I do not have that working quite yet. Always nice to know that something doesn't quite work. But this is what I'm literally developing right now, and this is going to be coming up in the next patch. Is this dialogue interaction and such? So you're seeing actual absolute cutting edge stuff.
Hey, it's very good to see you. I'm closed for business right now.
And then you've got the bar fight going on, and you know, a whole plot line that comes out of this. So we got a whole plot line that comes out of this series that you'll be able to deal with, and you'll talk to the characters, and the characters will give you some tasks and some things that you can do, and you know, you'll be able to actually to work for it. No, I'm sorry, Mustafa. This is not a shooting game at all. Actually, there's no real shooting component to speak of. It's reasonably non-violent. There is some ship-to-ship combat. There is some bounty hunter, you know, catch and hide and seek kind of aspects when you're looking for other ships that you're trying to capture, when you're collecting bounties that are on other characters or on other players. But aside from the basic ship combat pieces, there's no shooting at all, and there really never will be. It's not designed to be a combat game. The combat in the game is fairly minimal. You'll be able to fight against pirates. You'll be able to fight as a pirate if you choose to, but it's not really the focus. You know, so it'll be fairly straightforward. You know, some games like Starfield go really heavy, really hardcore into the space combat, but that's, you know, that's their niche. They can do that. This one is going to be more about more or less just the mechanics of space trucking, and you know, picking up missions, delivering missions, finding interesting things all over the place. The volume of space in this game is enormous. In fact, let me show you, so that you get a feel for it. So this is one of the maps, right? And it's still new. We haven't gotten too far with it yet. But the volume of this map is absolutely huge. For example, this planet here is 90,000 meters away, and you travel at a rate that makes that significant. So it's basically 90 kilometers of space just between these two things. And then space continues off in both directions. So it's a full sphere that you can traverse. It's pretty enormous. And there's going to be an asteroid belt here and whatnot. And then when you get to the edge of the space, or at any other point that you choose, you can actually jump to different planets. You can just explore interstellar space. You can then go between systems, between actual, you know, solar systems. So there's much more of an exploration and a adventure aspect to this game than a shooter. Okay, so anyways, so let me talk in some detail about how the actual dialogue stuff is going. There's still some bugs I need to iron out, obviously, but the dialogue stuff is actually all powered by a tool called Clyde. And let me go ahead and share Clyde here so you can see that as well. In fact, let me just bring up, let's see, screen capture, game capture. There we go. So Clyde is this tool right here, and just using, Kate or any other desktop editor of your choice, any simple text editor, you can basically set up the dialogues for your character as if you were writing a screenplay, and the options that you choose, and the basic BB code for how things line up, and then there's tags that you can add to the actual options with the pound sign like that, and those tags can then be processed to do different things. For example, I have created a handler so that anything with the tag dia, tells it a dialog block to jump to when you click on it, and then anything with an anim will launch a specific animation for that character, and then anything with an action will trigger a more complicated thing. For example, the voice lines, or maybe they want to move around, or maybe they're going to produce something out of a pocket, or something like that. So that's the general way that works. It's pretty straightforward, and it gives us a lot of ability for the writer to just write and not have to worry about how it implements in code. And then it gives me a chance as the developer to actually write the hooks for it without having to worry too much about what's actually being written by the writer. It's actually very nice. It's a tool that I'm a big fan of because it gives me a lot of freedom to do really neat things, and we're not restricted to just 3 choices or 2 choices, anything like that. We actually have as many choices as the writer wants to have. We can have. So if she wants to have 9 or 10 options, she can do that. And welcome, Toby Morrison. I appreciate you dropping by. It's very kind of you. So that's a quick recap of what we got and where we're going. No, actually, we've got Sten and Mustafi Amiri, and I think a couple other people on here as well at the moment. But yes, I see that it says 1 watching now on the YouTube stream, but in the studio it actually shows me 6. So I'm not sure how many are actually here, but yeah, welcome everybody. I appreciate y'all being here. So we've covered a real quick bit of what was in patch 3. We've covered a little bit of what we added in patch 2, and a little bit of where we're going with the dialogue options and the new things coming up. And at risk of having it break yet again, let me show the dialogue options here real quick again. And this is, I'm literally working on this today, like right now. I paused just for the stream.
Very good to see you.
So, as you can see, that was one of the dialogue options that came there. And then the character that you're talking to provides the character portrait and the name and everything. And then you have the options that come up, as I showed you in the actual script.
A big old fight, a real genuine slobber knocker.
And then that triggers, for example, an action, which was the voice acting there by Our Day Gamer. And then, for example, he tells you some more about this quest.
I'm closed for business right now.
And then he gives you some ideas that you can help him out.
Well, let me tell you.
If you want to help him out, he lets you know that his resupply ship just got hit by some debris from the bar fight rolling out into space. His inventory is floating around out there, and he can't get to it before the station's automated defense systems destroy it. So you can say, hey...
See you when you get back.
I will
Thanks for
go do
stopping
that.
by.
And it will give you a quest, a mission, to go do that exact thing. And then off you go, flying around the station, collecting, bits and pieces, identifying debris, determining what debris is actually cargo, collecting the cargo, and then you'll bring it back, or you'll have the choice to sell it. You can sell the cargo, or you'll be able to bring it back, and then you'll gain faction, and you'll gain a reward from the Bad Luck Bart, the bartender there. Well, thanks for stopping by Toby Morrison Studios. Have a good one. So that gives you a quick idea of where we're going with it, where we are right now, and where we came to get there. Oh, and welcome, Ferdibor. And thank you for the follow, actually. I appreciate that as well. I saw that you followed a little while ago, Ferdibor, and I appreciate it. So if anybody has any questions, we can go ahead and and take any questions that anyone has. If there's any questions you have about Godot, I'm happy to answer those. I'm no expert, but I'm getting pretty decent at it. If there's questions about the game, I'll be happy to answer those as well. And I will pause for a bit because I know there's a fairly substantial lag when I have the automatic CC closed captioning turned on. Oh, and while I'm waiting for anybody to ask any questions they have, I will repeat from the beginning of the stream. The first chapter of the new book, the book about Smugglers of Cygnus specifically, called Smugglers of Cygnus Odatria, which is about a smuggler crew, is up on the Patreon this month. There'll be a new chapter coming up every single month on the Patreon. And then audiobook chapters will be following as we get the audio equipment sorted out here in this new location. The final chapter of the previous book, called Final Lap, which was about the Smuggler of Cygnus game Cygnus Pizza Race, which is a game that's currently up on itch and Steam. That book is concluded, and the ebook and paperback versions of it are being set up right now. The ebook will be free to everybody who's on Patreon. Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much. The ebook will be free to everybody who's on Patreon, whether you joined, last week or whether you join next month at $1 or more a month. You'll be getting a free copy of Final Lap. So that's going out to everybody. And then Odatria, that journey just started, so you guys are going to get to meet the very interesting and very diverse crew of the newest ship that we're writing about. And this one is actually going to be taking place in the larger world, not just in the smaller world of the Cygnus Pizza Race itself. That was more of like a way to get everybody familiar with the concept of the actual Cygnus galaxy and what's going on with it and, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, it's a pretty decent race game too. But on top of that, you now have a chance to see in the newest one, will be just about Smugglers of Cygnus, and so it'll be talking more about Smugglers of Cygnus itself, and more importantly, it'll be talking about the technology and the culture and the world that is just very specifically this game. So that's quite a thing, and I'm very, very honored to have, Jessica Alter writing it for us. She's a fantastic science fiction writer, and she's been doing a really great job. She's writing the dialogue, she's writing the plots for the missions, she's writing the voice lines for the characters, and she's writing the actual book that takes place in the series, which is fantastic. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I love when they do that. What inspired me to do it specifically was actually the Halo Fall of Reach book, because I liked the Halo series in general. I had played it a bunch with my youngest kid, and then I saw that there was a book about it, and I read the book, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this book is fantastic, and it just made the whole world of Halo so much better for me. So when this project was something that we were talking about, I made sure to touch base and get, real discussions going on about having a book done in this world to make sure that it was actually something that could help make the world a bigger and more lived in feeling place. And it gives us a lot more interesting things to put in there. There'll be things that are in the book that you'll then see in the game, and things that are in the game that you'll see in the book, so that it's like, oh, I know what that is. It kind of helps tie everything together and make the whole world just seem a much more interesting place for it. Okay, well, looks like nobody else has any questions. So thank you guys very much. I'll try to be putting up another patch stream video when the next patch comes out. The next patch will probably be 3 to 5 weeks, give or take a bit. I need to get the dialogue stuff working properly because the next patch will contain the first mission. And since the first mission is going to be involving going out there and collecting stuff, I have to make sure that that can actually work. Yeah, see, that's entirely fair. you may not like the Halo games, but you like the books, because the Halo games may not hit the right niche, but it's a solid book. I was actually really impressed by how good a book it was. And it's entirely possible that we'll find people who like the Smugglers of Cygnus books and the Cygnus Pizza Race books, but aren't really a big fan of the game. I mean, it could happen. And also, there will be a soundtrack available. We're still trying to get a hold of Hexencraft. We have a soundtrack is done by two very talented musicians, and I've been trying to get them to work together to set everything up, rights-wise, so that we can actually produce a soundtrack release for the game. So we'll have to see how that goes. So fingers crossed we'll be able to do that. It looks like it's going to happen for the Patreon. Whether we can actually produce a general release soundtrack or not, I'm not 100% sure. So anyways, if you guys are interested and you want to keep track of what's going on, there's some links down there that have everything that you need to know about everything that's going on. And I'll drop the link right here in chat. You can always drop by the forum, and on our forums we have the current info is always regularly updated. Let me go ahead and drop that right here. So there's the forums where you can go ahead and keep track of what's going on. You can follow us on Itch, where you can always keep track of the latest stuff that we're working on with Louisa Llama, which is just a cute 2D Zelda-like game, with the Smugglers of the Cygnus, which is, a very big adventure game set in space. And, of course, with Smugglers of Cygnus Pizza Race, which is a cute racing game, a 2-player local cute racing game set in this world as well. So, thank you all very much for dropping by, and I will talk to you again either online or in the next patch. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.